If you are watching me in another language, just turn on the automatic translation from the settings. If you are using YouTube for PC or for Android. Yes, I know that you hate that material. It's so difficult. It's not easy to understand, right? I know that you want a magic solution that will make you memorize it and get the highest grades. So, in this video, nothing hard to learn today. I will give you practical tips and steps for learning any topic, even if it is difficult and new. But I want just to mention that all the information I provide in this video is based on Dr. Barbara Oakley's course, Learn How to Learn on Coursera. Dr. Barbara Oakley is a wonderful teacher. Her course has solved the problem of studying and learning for many students. So let's just start with this advice. If you hate the subject, that's okay. We are all like that. What's important is to start. Start and don't let your feelings control you, okay? So please remember this advice. Don't hate a subject. And if you hate a subject, that's okay. We are all like that. So, how do we learn any subject even if it is difficult? Let's listing the steps. So, grab a pen and paper, focus with me, and let's get started. The process, the process of learning, is it hard or easy? Honestly, the process of learning something new is a difficult process. It's not easy and requires patience. So, you must be patient, okay? If you want to learn something, you have to be patient to learn that. And I will tell you about the steps in the next minutes. The learning process includes two parts, or we can say two processes. The large process is the learning process, and the smaller steps or the smaller parts is creating information chunks, and the second process or part, the second part I mean, save information in long-term memory. What is creating information chunks? Okay, I will tell you, but we can say it involves understanding, practicing, and knowing when and how to use this information. After this process, you will save the information in short-term memory, right? We need techniques to move this information from short-term memory to long-term memory, right? So I'll give you some techniques such as spaced repetition technique, create meaningful combination technique, and memory palace technique. So let's talk about all steps with examples. Creating information chunks. What is creating information chunks? As I said to you, the first step is focus. Focus your attention on the information you want to learn, okay? It includes to remove all distractions. Okay? Remove all distractions and focus. The second the second step is understand. You have to understand the information in order to save it in your long-term memory, okay? And you can't use your information without understanding, right? The third step is practice. After you understand, you need to practice. You need to solve some example and recall the information you're trying to learn, okay? And the fourth step is to test yourself. Without testing yourself, you can't make sure you really understand that information, right? So, this is all steps. Focus, understand, practice, and test yourself. What is the benefit of each step anyway? When you remove distractions, you make the way to understand so easy and clear. Okay? So, you make a clear mind, and the clear mind is a powerful mind, right? The second thing is understanding. What is the benefit of understanding? Understanding make you save the information and use this information. You can't save any information, any idea if you can't understand it, right? You can't use that information. So what is the benefit of that information without understanding it anyway? The third process, or I mean the third step is practicing and testing yourself. This is very important step. Why? To make sure you are really studying in the correct way. Okay? This is another advice. Don't fall into the trap of illusion of learning, okay? Illusion of learning means to say to yourself when are you studying something, okay, it's an easy subject and it's an easy article or an easy material. I can save it very in short time, okay? And if you are in the exam, you can't remember anything and you can't do anything. Why? Because you fall into the trap of illusion of learning. So when you test yourself with examples, solving examples and recall, you make yourself don't fall into the trap of illusion of learning. Okay, so practice and test yourself. Don't forget the benefit of each step. Okay, but let's talk about this problem. I can't understand. It's hard. How can what can I do? Okay, it's hard. I can't understand it. What can I do? Actually, it's very common problem. But the reason maybe won't make you happy. The reason could be that you did not start learning from the basics. You can't study hard topic without start from the easy stairs. If we can say about that, if we are want to go in the stairs in the next floor, we need to go step by step. We can't jump all the steps in one time, right? So maybe we can say an example here. You cannot study and understand calculus 2 without the basic essential of mathematics and calculus 1, right? So we finished the first process in the learning processes, or we can say the first part. Can you remember the second part? After you save your information in short term memory, what should you do? You need to move this information into long-term memory. So let's talk about these techniques: space repetition, create meaningful combinations, and memory palace. Okay, what is saving information long-term memory? Saving information in long-term memory is the process of transferring information from short-term memory to long-term memory, which is the memory that stores information for longer time, right? Maybe it's an easy thing to remember. So, as I said to you, in the first process, which is creating information chunks, the information remains in short-term memory, but it cannot be transferred to long-term memory without repeat smartly, not repeat something hundreds of time in one session. Okay, so I want just to give you the third advice. It's not a quick process. You understand? It's not a quick process, man. You cannot save something. If you want to study something very quickly, you cannot do it. This is not a quick process. The memorization process is not a quick process, but rather than a slow process. It's not correct to repeat information hundreds of times during one session. This is not useful. Maybe you may remember that information for maybe 1 or 2 days, but in order to remember that information for a longer time, you need to repeat over day and day by day, okay, bit by bit. So let's talk about memory techniques. The first technique is spaced repetition. Spaced repetition means to try to review the information for the first time. The second time you review the information should be in the next day. And after you review this information, you want to review after 3 or 4 days. You need to make the days longer. If we can say these images as an example, so we use flashcards here, front and back. We write our question you wanted to learn, or we want to save it. In the front and in the back, we write the answer. If we can remember it for the first time, we put it in the 2 days box, as you see in the image below. And if you came in the next day and you can remember it, put it in the 3 days box. If you can't remember it, you need to put it in the last box, okay, to remember it more. This is the first technique. But I want just to give a note here. You don't need to use flashcards. The important thing is to review the information. You don't have to use the flashcards if you want, okay? So, the second technique is create meaningful combinations. This technique is very useful if you are trying to save lists in your mind, long lists, I mean. Let's get an example here. Let's talk about an example here. We have this list: books, OVO, yard, and secure. This technique say to take the first character of each word. In books we take B, in oil we take O, in yard we take Y, and in secure we take S. And make a word that can we save it very easy, right? And we can now put something on the words and try to remember. B, books. O, oil. Y, yard. S, secure, boys. We can save this word. instead of save long, long list. Okay, so let's jump into the third technique. The third technique mean or says sensing the information and transforming it into something familiar. What does it mean? It means you can make a song if you want. You can make a song, transfer the information into a song, and believe me, you will save it, and you can remember it after longer time. I have tried this technique, and it's very useful. You can also transfer the information into something you know. For example, E equal F multiply C, FC, fried chicken, for example. Okay, you can use this technique if you want. You can also draw if you like to draw something. You can draw a picture and try to transfer. I mean, try to transfer this information into a drawing, right? So this technique is very useful. The fourth technique is memory palace method of localization. This technique say the technique involves envisioning a location or physical space that you are extremely familiar with. In this location, you attach the terms and information you are memorizing to. As you said, we want to save, for example, a list. Okay, we want to save a list. So we remember our house very good, right? So we put our things in a places that we need that we want to remember in the future, so you can remember it in the future. You can search for memory palace technique on YouTube if you want more information. You will find a lot of videos to teach you how to use this technique. It's very useful. Our visual memory is very powerful. Okay, so notice that transferring information into visual information, it's not an easy process, okay? The process of converting information from written form to visual form is a difficult process. But with practice, you can practice. The first time will be hard, but with the practice, it will be very easy. Believe me, it will be very easy, and you will enjoy these techniques. You will enjoy it really. Okay, so let's review what we have learned in the last minutes. The learning process includes two parts, right? The first part is creating information chunks. It involves understanding, we focus and understand. Then we practice and put this information in a context to know when and how to use this information. The second part is save information in long-term memory. We learned about space repetition technique, create meaningful combinations, and memory palace. Okay? So at the end, I want to give you the first advice. Learning is a very important process. You need to learn how to learn. It's not an easy process, okay? And you have to learn. Why? Because a person must develop his abilities over time in order to become successful in his life. The second advice is learning difficult things may be difficult, as I said to you. Don't think about it. It's an easy step, okay? So you need to be patient. At the end, nothing is difficult if we start climbing the stairs step by step, right? And have some patience in your heart and courage to learn something new. Don't be afraid of learning something new. So I want to say thanks. I am Muhammad Makarati, and don't hesitate to watch the video again if you want to take notes. And if you want more details, you can go to the Learn How to Learn course on Coursera from the link in the description box below. I will put the link there. Thanks again, and see you in the next time.